Bag alert, major bag alert. Here we are, Middlecoff. It's another ham mailbag brought to you by, in part, our friends Tito's Handmade Vodka.
Yep, sponsoring the podcast, sponsoring the YouTube channel, #1 vodka in America. Go get yourself a bottle and take a picture and show us on the internet.
Do that. Absolutely. And also, if you're in Northern California or Southern California, Puesto, the Mexican food. We went and ate it this week. It was fantastic. If you're going to the Niner game, there's 2 Puesto locations at the Niner game. Go eat some food. Send us pictures of that, too. They're in, what sections are they?
110, 129 section. 110, 129. Get yourself a taco. Take us a picture. We had,
we had
like 6 yesterday.
Yeah. Also, mybookie.ag ham 1. If you want to bet our DraftKings game, getting the link is in all of this.
Yeah, down below.
Code ham. So Sunday Night Football, John, pretty big. MyBookie.
Yeah.
.ag ham 1.
You think Belichick's going to get Tom Brady? +7. MyBookie.ag, promo code ham 1. Put a little money on Belichick. I know I might.
Mailbag time. It's very simple. You go to iTunes. You leave us a question in your review. We appreciate the reviews that you all leave us, but it's not in the mailbag if it's not a question. So leave a question and tell us your favorite bar to hang at in the middle of that as well, whether you're drinking Tito's there or not. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, baby. Let's do it.
Here we go, John. First up, this is from 7CB. Says, best bar in Seattle is any bar slinging Tito's.
Oh.
I don't think we read this one already. Here's a discussion question. What would it take for college football to be restructured like European soccer? We get this question probably twice a year. And teams to get promoted or demoted. I think it'd be awesome because it forced teams like Clemson to play other good teams and would generally result in more competitive games. Thoughts?
Yeah,
the hard part is like Division I football is 130 teams, so where are they getting demoted to?
Yeah, there's nowhere to go, and there's not enough Cincinnati and Boise's to bring up. Plus, there's too much money. So even if you are, let's use the Pac-12, for example. If Arizona sucks at football for the previous 5 years and 5 more years, they're still business partners and friends with the other conferences. And I was told this once in the NFL from a power broker. They like when other teams are shitty. Why? Because we need some easy wins too. Like no one wants everyone to be, you don't want every team to be Manchester United or Alabama. So people think that, well,
I mean, for wins and losses, you don't, but for business, you do.
Yeah, but once you have 4 or 5 of them, you're good.
Well, Texas is the great example of that, right? They haven't won in forever, but they're great. They're a massive brand.
I think it gets overrated a little bit about, now we have had the run of like 5 teams over the last 6 or 7 years has been pretty crazy. I think it's pretty clear early on in this season that might change a little bit moving forward. Clemson's not, I mean, they're 2-2 guy. And they're playing the guy that, let's face it, we got to take the L on this one. We both looked at him at Niner practice. This guy's never going to be any good as a coach. He was a DB coach. Then he went to Ryan Day's staff, became the coordinator, and was legit. Now he's at Boston College. Do you know what their record is right now, guy?
Are they undefeated?
They are 4-0.
Yeah.
He's good.
I don't know enough about soccer. Something tells me soccer wouldn't have designed it that way if soccer was trying to be a business from the beginning, but soccer wasn't trying to be a business. It was just a bunch of communities that owned soccer teams, right?
Wasn't that why all the businessmen in America said, fuck this, I don't want to threaten to get relegated. We want to go start our own thing. Isn't that why Kroenke and the Glazers, tried to form the alliance in soccer?
Oh, right. Exactly.
Because they hated that. They're like, we're making all the money, win or lose. Screw you.
This next question comes from Bill in Charlottesville. Hey, guys, 95.7 lifelong. Oh, fan since 95.7. We got to check where that period is. Lifelong Giants fan. They just lost at home to Atlanta and are about to pick for the 4th consecutive year in the top 10. Took Saquon 2 when they were terrible. Took Danny Dimes at 6 when they could have taken him at 17. It took one of 3 equivalent tackles at 4 instead of moving down and accumulating picks. How can they allow Gettleman to make this pick?
Danny Dimes has stuck. And at first it was like, God, this guy throws dimes. Now people just use it sarcastically to make fun of him, right?
You think they use it sarcastically, or is it just such an easy nickname that, like, I think it's such a great nickname that it doesn't even matter if it's accurate anymore.
I think when people say Danny Dimes, though, now no one thinks of him as a guy that's throwing dimes.
Then you don't even think that the name describes anything. You're right.
Did you see the picture that went viral? I guess when John Morrow walked off the field after the Eli. I don't know if this happened after the Eli booing or at the end of the game when they lost. There was a trash can that was knocked over and trash everywhere, and I guess he had kicked it. Someone saw him kick it and took a picture. Not of the kick, but of the trash can. And it was like, John Morrow's so angry, he kicked the can.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not going well with the Giants.
He's had 4 drafts now, John. How could you give him another draft? He had the 18, 19, 20, 21. Yeah, no. But it feels like he's gonna.
Guy, they're over a touchdown underdog this week against Jameis. I mean, they are I don't think it's crazy to say that they go like 3-14.
Now that I do wonder what you just described, the owner having it feel so personal, maybe that inspires him to do something he wouldn't otherwise do, which is
Fire
make some
everybody.
dramatic change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, this is from Tito's Dev.
Wonder who that is.
Do you guys have any concerns about Kyle's play calling early this season? While he is a design play genius, seems like sometimes he gets very cute with passing on early downs and puts Jimmy in third and unmanageable. Certainly doesn't fit his skill set. Thoughts? I'll say this, John. This September 24th, so this was posted before the Packer game.
Wow. Visionary.
You have to have like 3-4 Tito's a day. You can start thinking like that.
I do think it's a pretty big game Sunday for Kyle because the offense has just looked weird. It just looked off, and I listen.
Ayuk hasn't.
Is he playing psychological games with his quarterback trying to prop him up? That's his job as a coach. It's easy for you couldn't take the tactic of fans like Jimmy sucks. Like if that's what he came out and said, what's Jimmy going to be like? Oh, this is cool. You still want me to throw touchdowns? And my coach is saying what he can't talk like a fan. This is a big moment for him because people are turning on him. But it is getting a little weird, right? Like
it is.
Trey, it's like
there's a lot of criticism right now.
Yeah.
And I think at some point it'll be interesting to see when does Trey Lance play, and is Kyle ready for Trey Lance to play when Trey Lance plays? In other words, does he ever get to a point where he plays Trey Lance because of pressure? That's not Kyle's MO. He's got a lot of security.
Do you still feel confident on the take that we both shared Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan over Sean McVay?
No. I think Sean McVay's going to win the Super Bowl this year.
But I'm just saying,
it's not over. Long way to go. But if you took Sean McVay right now, you'd do no trade backs.
Well, I think people would look at you weird right now if you pick Kyle, right?
But I mean, that's when you buy.
Yeah, hopefully, sometimes you just go on to suck.
ZT West says, "Have y'all ever thought about having a separate Niners Raiders pod every week? I'm from Texas. I love all the takes on life and sports, but sometimes I'm not looking for in-depth 49er injury and how overpaid John Gruden is. All I know is I listen to every episode and I'm a big fan. But it makes it hard to recommend to people to check it out who don't care a ton about Bay Area sports. Just a thought. I know it's a Bay Area pod, though. Question 1. I'm a Cowboys fan, and I'm really scared off this season. I'm going to see a headline of Kellen Moore getting a head coaching job somewhere else and leaving the Cowboys. Is there any hope they'd let McCarthy go and keep Kellen? Mike does absolutely nothing besides kiss up to Jerry. Question 2. Rank the following 2020 and 2021 wide receivers. They are Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Reagor, Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith. A lot going on here.
Rager's last.
First of all, I do want you to recommend. I understand it's a fine line. Like we try to do enough stuff. This is why I hope that maybe you check the podcast description and go, hey, check there. Maybe you tell people check the description. You may not want should the Niners trade for Marlon Mack, but you might want some of the other stuff there. The intern timestamps it, so you can jump around and maybe there's something good there for everybody.
Yeah, it's a tough spot, and ultimately we wouldn't do this if it wasn't great for business. And 49ers, as you saw on the Sunday night ratings, like there's a reason multiple people have dedicated businesses to the Packers, and you can do it with the Cowboys. We could not do this with many teams, and we happen to also live here. But I know he's not even hating. I mean, it's just
no, not at all. But I would argue we're not a dedicated 49ers podcast. No. If we had done this podcast, after Jim Harbaugh, we'd be doing it. Probably we would have been doing like all Raiders because the Raiders were good, and the Niners were bad.
We're a lot of Niners. I mean, we're a Niners show. We talk. I mean, that's going to be our go-to topics, right?
Right.
But I mean, we do it for a reason.
Yeah, we also do the other stuff for a reason, right?
Yeah, because we like talking about it all. I would say that Kellen Moore has the potential to be. Remember Sean Payton, coach for the Cowboys and coach for the New York Giants, and both those teams have to go. God, we could have just hired Sean Payton to be our head coach. I do think you have to think about that with Kellen Moore. You see Stephen Jones's quotes this week. Like Kellen's going to be head coach. I'm glad everyone, the Jones family. Justin Wilcox probably loves him the most. He put his career on the line when he went to Chris Peterson. Because remember, Chris Peterson, like Pete Carroll with Russell Wilson, thought he was too short. But then he believed in him. They ultimately gave him a scholarship. The rest history is Kellen Moore's got to be the greatest player in the history of Boise State, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not pro career, but I'm saying his collegiate career has got to be unprecedented in the history of their.
He's one of the great college football. Yeah.
And
players full time.
I would fire McCarthy and keep Kellen Moore.
Yeah, I mean they've done it before.
Yeah.
They did. I mean, this is the team that did it with Jason Garrett and Wade, right?
Wouldn't you say it's a little different? Like McCarthy is much more accomplished as a head coach than Wade Phillips. And now, like, what if they win? What if they go 11 and what would their record be? 11-6, like 11-6, win the division by 4 games, hosting a playoff game. You're going to fire McCarthy after that? Kellen's going to interview.
Right. Quick, let's just do all these 2020, 21 receivers. Let's do a draft, alternate picks. You can have the first pick. Who you want?
It's between Jefferson and Chase. I'll just go with Jefferson.
That would have been my first pick too. I'll take Chase.
CeeDee Lamb.
Damn it. God, going first in this one sucks. I mean, is the way to go. Devontae.
Ruggs.
God damn it. Picking first is the way to go here.
I know. I got speed. I got size. Those 3 guys. I don't even need to draft anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, at this point now, it's
Ayuk's kind of tumbled down the list.
Yeah, I know. I'll buy low on Ayuk.
Okay, I'll take Waddle.
Yeah, good pick.
Rager goes undrafted.
Okay. I mean, so there's a consensus there that we think the best are Jefferson.
Now Chase has only played 3. You could have taken Lamb within the first 2 picks, couldn't you?
I know. Yeah, I could have. You're right. I probably should have. All right, that was a good question.
Jamar Chase says I thought he had 3. He has 4 touchdowns through 3 weeks.
The one last week when he caught the back of the football as it was dive bombing in the end zone was pretty impressive.
To me, the best part about that throw was Joe. Don't you think they're just kind of meant? Certain quarterbacks and wide receivers are just like football meant for these 2 people to play together. I think Rodgers, Devontae are like that.
Yeah.
I think Chase and we'll see tonight. We're recording this podcast before the Thursday night game, but
starting.
Yeah.
Next up, sink the ship, says Randy Pofo. Best show in the business. If the Niners don't make the playoffs this year, are Shanahan and Lynch going to be getting people excited for year 6? No, they won't.
No, we'd have issues.
Especially, there'd be 2 ways. Like, did they miss the playoffs and Trey Lance didn't play, or did they miss the playoffs and he did play and it didn't look good? Now, if he looks, there is the scenario where they go to him. It's clear he's not ready to lead him to the playoffs, but there's like a bunch of great stuff, and you go, okay, there's something here. And then like it takes 11 games to make the NFC playoffs, and you know what I mean? Like that, it's a slim.
That would still suck, though.
Mark in San Diego, best out there. Sorry, this is my 3rd review for the mailbag, but I don't think the first 2 made it because I used an inappropriate word. Question: I'm writing this before the Packers game. With Garoppolo's performance, what's your new projection for Lance's first start? If I really had to guess, I don't think it's after the bye. I think it's further back than that.
If they lose the next 2 games, which might mean Jimmy not play as well, it'll be the number 1 conversation over the bye. Because we'd be like, what are we doing with Jimmy Garoppolo? No one wants to watch him play anymore.
Alex Epps, question: do you think Lamar Jackson is this generation's Michael Vick, or is he closer to RG3? Dynamic talent, but eventually injuries to a running QB catches up with them. I'd be nervous as a GM or owner to give Lamar the farm. Not sure if there's other options, but just wondering y'all's opinion. Best bar, Frisco, Texas. Tight End Sports Bar and Grill. Great food, great drinks, and a great view of the waitress. A particular waitress or Tight Ends Bar and Grill?
Sounds good. I would say Lamar Jackson has nothing in common with RG3 besides playing quarterback. That's an insult to Lamar.
Yeah,
he's better than Michael Vick.
He's such a good throw. I just watching a lot of the Lions game the other day. Not that I'm breaking news here. He just makes throws consistently that 95% of the league can't make.
He's definitely better at 21 or 22 than Michael Vick. Michael has a stronger arm and could throw it farther, but Lamar is a better player. Michael was part of it was Michael. I don't think we'd ever quite seen anything like that. So we have seen Lamar before. I mean, iterations of him, like the guys you're listing. Michael had a flaw. Like, Michael couldn't read defenses. He couldn't handle a slot nickel blitz. RG3 had 15 good games, and his career ended. Like, Lamar's now had 4 years of MVP, Pro Bowl, like, one of the best players in the league.
Beloved by teammates.
Yeah.
Would you rather, Tony Rod? Are we still loving Ayuk? Seeing CeeDee Lamb makes me wonder. Does Kyle get too cute during the draft? Love the show. Keep up the amazing work. Go Tito's.
CeeDee Lamb went 17, though. Right?
Yeah, I'd rather have CeeDee Lamb.
But to me, if they would have taken Ayuk over CeeDee Lamb, that would be a conversation. But that's not a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it's Kinlaw, who last I saw missing practices again. It's like, oh my God, this is just.
I look, I'm not going to bail on Ayuk right now. I think he's got so much potential. This is not the time to bail on a guy. But CeeDee Lamb has been clear. I had CeeDee Lamb a lot of DraftKings last year. CeeDee Lamb has been clearly ready to roll from the jump and would fit with Kyle.
To me, CeeDee Lamb and Jefferson needed no time. Ruggs needed a year. Judy was good, but he's hurt. Like, Ayuk.
Got to keep it going.
Got to keep it going.
Got to build. Got to get better. Like this league is, you got to get better. Like anything in life.
Yeah.
Home in one. Home in one is this name. Maybe it's former Giants catcher Steve Holm. First of all, my 21-year-old boy turned me onto this podcast on a road trip up to Bandon from Walnut Creek. Fabulous, entertaining perspective.
That's a long road trip, guy. I've made it.
Yeah.
Sacramento or Davis.
How much further is Bandon than like driving to Eugene? We did that drive in high school.
Yeah, I mean it's 6-hour drive. It's long.
Shout out to your 21-year-old who listens.
Yeah, good
and
guy.
Then we call it father-son bond time. We love that. Mailbag question: how do you rationalize prevent defense effectively playing 15 yards off the receiver with 26 seconds left to go? Number two. More importantly, why don't NFL coaches look at this situation almost as a special team sort of situation and bring out the uber-talented skill guy wide receivers to supplement coverage, whether it's at the line of scrimmage or deep? It's obviously not a full-time thing, but I imagine stacking the secondary with what's is an effective round one athletic talent's a good thing. A few reps on the drill per week, I think that'd be an effective approach to prevent defense. After all, like Lou Holtz said, a lot of guys without the hands to play receiver move to defensive secondary. Number three. Never understood the hate on Jimmy G. Knee injury was a bit of a fluke. Just bad luck. Guy's effective and wins. Number four, would love to hit the stadium pub sometime.
Oh, yeah, I go there. Been there, not go there. I have the idea, and I stand by this. Why not put Trent Williams on defense for those?
That was a good idea. I like that
Put
idea.
him over the center or put him over the guard. You can't convince me he couldn't get a bull rush back into the quarterback.
Yeah.
Now, if he rolled an ankle or got hurt, it'd be hard to live that down. I think that would be more effective than put like the Niners. It's weird because the Niners don't have like a Julio Jones. Like, what are you gonna do? Put Brandon Ayuk out there? Like, he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's small. To me, Trent Williams is the move. Put him at defensive line next to Bosa.
As it relates to like more athletic guys playing in the secondary, you see it obviously on the Hail Marys where they don't call PI. I think we probably underrate. I know we do.
Put Kittle back there.
Yeah. Like the amount of technical training that defensive backs do is through the roof. And when I watch them, it looks boring as hell. Like you want to work on your technical swing if you're a hitter. Like, okay, it's a lot of work, but at least you're swinging the bat. Cornerbacks, receivers, they work on their technique. At the end of the play, they catch the football. Defensive backs, I think, go through an incredible amount of really boring, repetitive, detail-oriented footwork, hip movements,
drive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't
tip
give
drills
them credit for how technical their position are.
Yeah,
the tip drills are fun. At least it's just a tip drill. But like the hip turns and the head movements and the witch hands and the shoulder,
they're always told this: if you're good at this, you'll get a lot of money. And the reality is, like, most of you are not going to be that good.
Good question, though. Chase, been listening to John for a few years and found this pod after some time. Keep up the interesting. These guys keep it interesting with football and golf, even though I'm not a Niner fan. Hands down, my favorite pod, even more than Uncle Colin. My favorite part of the last few months is when John got called out for being barbaric about UFC because his takes about ground and pound and reactions were priceless. What was that one again?
Well, this guy, they called the fight and he was like hitting him on the ground. I'm like, This just looks like a normal UFC to me. And everyone's like, that is not allowed to straddle his face and give him the elbows to the face. I'm like, okay, it's like we're nitpicking.
I defended you on that one.
Yes,
because
looks like
I was
normal
with you.
People killing each other.
Like, okay, there are rules, and yes, UFC, there was a line, but let's not act like,
I mean, how often do you see
joke.
highlights of a guy who has a baseball coming out of his eye, blood everywhere, and it's like, it's just part of the sport. These guys are tough SOBs. And then I got crushed for Middlecoff. They would never allow that type of barbaric action to straddle the face. I'm like, oh my God.
This person, Chase says, my question is if Zimmer is done after this year, or does the blame get placed somewhere else? As a Vikings fan, it's been painful to watch us be in contention. Bar pick, currently stationed in New Mexico, But if you're ever in Portland, Oregon, you fellas should check out Yard House.
What if
Like-
Kyle pulled a Bill Parcells and tried to or Belichick and tried to leave
Go to the Vikings?
Get
Get traded to the Vikings? Trade himself to the Vikings? He's the
Who would
GM?
you hire? Would you think about that if the season went really south?
Which part? What's your question?
Kyle wanted to go to Cousins. Would
Who
you
would
let him
you-
out?
Oh, who would you hire if you were the Niners?
Yeah. Doug
You'd
Peterson?
have, if you were going to consider it, you'd have to have somebody else you love.
Doug
Because you could say,
Peterson?
you know what? My coach doesn't want to be here, so I don't want him here.
Yeah.
Um,
I'd let him go.
for Doug Peterson.
Well,
To me,
I'm just-
if you're in that position, you can't hold on to the guy. You almost have to let him go because he wants to go.
Yeah. Lincoln
But isn't it funny after we spent the last week like, Kirk Cousins balling out. Here's a Vikings fan going, we're capped. So maybe the grass is always greener.
Well, they don't
I
love
think-
their coach. They don't love their coach.
I think
He's
Zimmer
old.
gets.
It's a big week
weird.
for Mike.
Yeah, I think they're solid enough for him to keep his job, but at some point, do you have to go? We got something cooking here. We need to take the next step, and we're not taking it.
It's hard to miss the playoffs back-to-back years when your offense is awesome.
So maybe it is time.
The Niners would die to have that problem.
That'd be a good job. I think the Vikings, just in general, that organization, that town,
Yeah.
be a good
I agree.
job.
I agree. Probably cheap.
Kellen
Housing.
Moore. Would you consider that job if you're a top-level college coach?
I think you like Matt Campbell. He feels like Matt Campbell, Minnesota, right? The Minnesota Vikings. God, these
Drew
guys are
Smith, and then he puts in parentheses, full name on the internet. Love it. The old switcheroo. He says, "What's up, guys? Been listening for a little over a year now, and here's a little interesting nugget I think you get a kick out of. So when I first started listening, you guys had the old podcast cover with the cartoon versions of yourselves. For some reason, I pictured Haberman's voice coming from Middlecoff's bald cartoon person, and vice versa. It just seems like the voices, the way they were in my head, matched better. It wasn't until I watched the YouTube that I realized I had the voices wrong, and now I can't unhear it." That's the magic. That's the way it used to be in the old days, John.
In radio when we were kids, I remember listening to Loveline, Adam Carolla, and Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Well, the internet didn't exist in 1996. Maybe it did, but most of us normal humans did not have computers or whatever. So these guys weren't on television. There was no way to find out what they look like. So you just would envision what these human beings that you heard through the radio, like Adam Carolla. I remember the first time I saw him on TV, like the Man Show or whatever, I was like, my jaw hit the floor. I'm like, that's what he looks like. Kids don't even people can't even relate to that anymore.
Here, I'll give you one similar, not the exact same thing, but before we moved to California in ninth grade, before we moved to Davis in ninth grade, my dad was stationed at an Air Force base in San Antonio, Texas. We lived there for 2 years, and so I would watch on TV, TBS and WGN. I'd watch the Cubs and the Braves a lot, but I didn't. That was probably the extent of what I watched, that and like the national games and This Week in Baseball and whatever. So I listened to the Texas Rangers on the radio all the time. And the Rangers had a reliever named Darren Oliver. And when you listen to a broadcast,
Lefty reliever.
these guys, they describe everything. It's always about like, here he steps in, scratching with his right foot in the back of the box. But there's one thing you never say about somebody, right?
Is he black or white?
Their skin color.
Yeah.
And I thought Darren Oliver was a white guy until like 4 years later when I saw him on TV for the first time.
He pitched for a long time.
Good player. All right. Drew Smith says, let me go back and find this. My question is, a lifelong Niner fan, I have the Smith-Rogers debate with people all the time. Everyone loves to laugh about how we got it wrong. But my rebuttal is that if we pick Rodgers and he'd have to play right away while Smith gets to sit behind Favre for a few years, their careers would be reversed. In my argument, Smith would be Rodgers right now, vice versa. Please tell me you agree. Situations that the QBs go to is so important, and these idiots I argue with don't seem to take it into account. Keep up the great content. It's the weekend, so I'm going to go make my Tito's right now.
I think that if Alex Smith had fallen to pick 24, I don't think the Packers take him.
That's not the question.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been a good fit in Green Bay. He's not even close to as talented as Rodgers. No chance that he has anywhere near the career that Aaron had.
So I agree with that part. But I think the part that gets interesting is what would have happened to Aaron. Because I do think it would have been better for Alex's career 1,000,000% until it came time to replace Brett. Because the Brett situation was so messy. Aaron was so talented that he was able to overcome, right? Like Alex would have just delayed a really shitty situation for Alex. Alex was in a shitty situation in San Francisco. It just would have been a different kind of shitty situation in Green Bay because they would have forced Brett out, and then Alex wasn't quite as good, wouldn't have been quite as good as Aaron, although it would have been in some ways better. I mean, what he was in was a complete
Didn't they
disaster.
remake one of the things they did when he sat was remake his delivery? Remember Aaron? Because
Aaron,
he was, so would he have started in San Francisco with this thing going on?
Probably.
Yeah, it could have derailed his career for sure.
Yeah, I do think.
But Alex does not, to me, ever become, I think, what he becomes. It would have been bad. Because he didn't have to replace a legend, like replace Favre, and it would have looked like that.
But his situation was as bad as it gets in another way, right?
He was terrible for years.
As bad as it gets.
Yeah, it doesn't get any worse.
It was horrid. Like, what was it, 4 coordinators in 5 years or something?
Is there a situation in the NFL that is as bad as it was for him? Probably not.
He had so many coaches, so many.
The Yorks, it was bad.
It was really bad. But I don't, I hate to say this because you could be wrong. I don't know. But I don't know that if Aaron's like in old school Cleveland or in that Niners situation.
Do you like I do think that division for young Alex outside the cold in Green Bay, Chicago. Now, he played in Kansas City and did okay. Yeah. But he was much older and
I do think he would have just gotten to where he ended up a little quicker based on just having the time.
You're saying just to be a credible quarterback?
Yeah.
Does Aaron flush out of the league, or does he survive?
That's a great question. I don't know. Like, when you talk about the all-time greats, it's hard for me to go back and be like, it would have been totally terrible.
Yeah.
But it's hard to say that it would have been what
it could have gotten ugly fast, and he was.
Now, we have to give Aaron credit for the fact that his situation was not ideal either. In the end,
it's tough. Yeah.
In the end, but he had the time to sit. Love the show. You guys are killing it. Is it time for the Niners to acquire a franchise quarterback? Can you name the last one the Niners had? Frank Gore. Common belief Shanahan could plug anyone into the scheme. However, the results say otherwise. How much do you think it would cost to acquire Saquon Barkley?
You said franchise running back?
Huh?
I thought you said franchise quarterback. Franchise running back?
Did I say quarterback? I'm sorry. I meant running back. As John mentioned on 3 and Out, the Giants are a dumpster fire. Need to blow it up anyway. Half measures like Cannon, Carry-On, or even a guy like Gurley aren't going to get it done. Stay healthy and keep swinging that axe. JL or JI?
When's the last time you swung an axe? It's been a little while.
Weebelos.
Well, drafting a guy in the 3rd round is like, that's where Andy Reid and Sean Payton and a lot of teams, 3rd round running backs can become franchise running backs.
Most
right?
franchise running backs are kind of lucky. I mean, Dalvin's not lucky. He was the end of the 1st round, right?
No, he was a 2nd round pick.
He was an early 2nd. It would have been early 2nd, right? You think he was middle 2nd?
Well, he's been in the league now. They might have been bad. I feel like my guess, Dalvin Cook would be pick 45. Maybe that's too high. He was pick 41.
Okay.
41 is not. That's
you draft there. You're hoping to get a franchise quarterback, a running back
at 41.
At 41.
Yeah.
I think
Sermon was 72.
Let's say Saquon goes on the block today. What's their best offer?
4th. He's already, year 3. Next year's year 4.
Yep.
He's already been injured. What are you going to do? Pay him? I don't think his offer would be very good.
And Jake Thorne here, a full name on the internet. Lifelong Niner fan of Jimmy since the trade. Everyone speaks on why one or the other should start. You, John, have advocated for the rookies to play early. Does the struggling of all the young quarterbacks make you pivot that position? Hashtag Tito's. Thanks, Jake.
I do think the Niners are better than all the other teams. Like, the one quarterback I think is like respectable right now is Mac Jones. Why? Because his team is credible.
And you'd say the Chargers last year had a very different situation with Keenan Allen and
Mike Williams and Hunter Henry.
The rookie they got, pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it is dependent on who you're playing with.
Low pressure environment, Chargers relative.
Who you're playing with and who's coaching you. So Trey Lance, I would be stunned if they played a game and it looked like the Bears against the Browns.
I agree with you. Also, the situation you're walking into, like Justin Fields' situation is everyone has a side when he arrives, right? And most of the people are on the side. This coach sucks. Get him out of here.
Yeah.
And now that's what Justin Fields walks into. And the starting quarterback is Andy Dalton. And It's just
This
a
is my
shitty
time, guy. This is my time.
Look, Bears, Chicago, awesome. You'd want to be the star quarterback at the Bears, but you got to get there. And right now, it's a messy situation.
Would you though? I mean, in theory, you would, but they've never had one. Is that
Yeah,
a reason?
no, I'm just saying, if you said you're the star quarterback of the Bears, is that a good situation? You'd be like, yeah, it's a pretty good situation.
Yeah. That's Michael Jordan, Chris Bryant. Like, it's cool
That's
to be
cool.
a star there.
Yeah, the Bears. Bears, when we talk about the national brands in this league, once upon a time, they are sleeping giant in some ways. Because they got a big following, but you don't really feel them right now because they just don't really have much going on.
I know. Sad.
All right, good mailbag, everybody. Get in the next one right now. Don't even think about it. You're listening to this podcast probably or watching the YouTube. There's a description that takes you to the podcast. If you're watching the YouTube, just do a question right now while you're thinking of something.
Do it now, people. Do it.
Later.
Peace.